Turning now to Israel's war against Hamas, to discuss the latest developments, we have Mister, Vice President for Policy at the Jewish Institute for National Security of America, and Rich G'Ardino, Sheriff of Fulton County, New York, and host of The Rich G'Ardino Show. Mister, Rich G'Ardino, thank you very much for joining us here today. Now, the U.S. has charged Hamas leaders with terrorism, citing the October 7th massacre. Why now, and is it enough? I'll give you guys both a chance to respond to this, but let's start with Blaze.
Yeah, well, I think this is a direct result of what we saw unfold this weekend when Israel brought home the bodies of 6 hostages that had been executed in cold blood by Hamas just hours before the IDF found them, seemingly precisely to ensure that they wouldn't return alive. And one of those hostages was an American citizen. In fact, he was the 43rd American citizen killed by Hamas since October 7th. And I think finally the United States government is realizing that it needs to put some pressure on Hamas. It needs to turn the screws on Hamas to force them to stop this war and return the hostages. And these indictments are perhaps the first step in that. Although I should note that indicting 3 dead Hamas leaders really isn't going to do a whole lot to convince Hamas to stop taking hostages.
Mm-hmm. And Rich, do you think this is enough?
I agree. I think it's a symbolic thing. I think it's symbolic, and I question it because it's an election year, and an indictment of this nature means nothing to these people. They deal in death. They want destruction of Israel. They want destruction of the Jewish people and the Jewish state. And simply charging them or indicting them in the United States isn't going to make a difference. These people don't care.
Now, Blaze, the U.S. is moving forward on what's being called a take-it-or-leave-it ceasefire deal. Where do you see this going?
I see it going in the same direction that each of the previous take-it-or-leave-it ceasefire deals have gone, which is absolutely nowhere. Hamas feels like it holds all the cards. It has hostages, still 95 hostages, and it's seeing increasing world pressure on Israel to try to stop this war. Just yesterday, we saw the United Kingdom say that it was going to suspend the sale of some arms to Israel. And as long as Hamas thinks that the world is turning against Israel, as long as it hears that the United States is putting pressure on Israel, not on Hamas, to stop this war, it thinks it's winning. And so why would it take a deal instead of keeping on fighting and seeing Israel get ever further alienated from the rest of the world?
One of the sticking points of a potential ceasefire deal is the border along Gaza and Egypt. Blaze, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is standing his ground on keeping troops along that Philadelphia corridor. Can you explain the importance of this region to Israel, its security as a nation, and the future of this region?
Sure. So, I think there's 3 goals in this war that the government of Israel has talked about. Obviously, to return the hostages, to destroy Hamas, but also to ensure that October 7th can never happen again, that a terrorist group in Gaza could ever attack Israel in the way that Hamas did on that tragic day. And one of the reasons that Hamas was able to stage that attack is because they get weapons, money, supplies, fighters, all coming into Gaza largely through overland and particularly underground tunnels between Gaza and Egypt, through which they smuggle all these goods and weapons. Israel has found over 150 tunnels connecting Gaza to Egypt, and those are the lifeblood of Hamas. And so the Philadelphia corridor is a small strip of land that runs along that southern border of Gaza, under which the tunnels have been built, and ensuring that Hamas is cut off from Egypt, ensuring that weapons can't be smuggled into Gaza again, is really fundamental to the future security of Israel, to making sure that Gaza doesn't threaten Israel again. And so for the Israelis, making sure that they have control, making sure that they can destroy those tunnels and make sure that no more tunnels are built is really fundamental to achieving their war aims.